don't think we were.
Probably were.
No, I don't think we were because it didn't give me a notification. But I'm gonna go on Facebook and check. So did you go hunting this morning, Zach?
Did not.
No, too cold.
I don't know about you, but it is freezing outside.
It is cold, but you're a P word.
And I knew that was going to happen. Huh?
If that's the reason you didn't go, then that's sorry.
No, that's not the reason I didn't go.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure that wasn't the reason you didn't go because you're a little scared of the cold. I gotta address something.
Oh, here we go.
Well, you and I talked about it before this a little bit, and I'm not gonna go into that, but I do want to address. Look, I made those parody videos. Yes, hopefully Spicoli does come back because we're gonna hit on some of the stuff that him and I were talking about, Eric. But I made those parody videos on Facebook, and they blow up, and I love them. They're funny as hell, and I'm gonna keep doing them. And it just on TikTok, I take those cut ups and I put them on TikTok. TikTok is the worst, but some of the comments y'all got in the comment section on these videos, y'all are wild. Y'all are fucking crazy. I thought I had a big pair of nuts, Zach. You know the way I talk on this, the podcast?
Uh-huh.
I have like tennis balls for nuts. Some of the people in the comment section have bowling balls. Okay? They do not care. And, when I have a video that goes and gets 100,000 views, I am not reading all of the comments.
Yeah.
I'm just warning people of this right now. Like, I go through, I honestly, I look for the ones where people are laughing or saying something funny, and I'll respond to something that's funny. Or every once in a while, I'll see someone that the video may have upset, and I'll ask them, or I'll tell them, hey, it's just a joke. Like, it's not serious, right? Like, it's literally a video that's just made to make people laugh. And I don't want to call anyone out. I'm not going to say any names, but I just had, and it wasn't a bad conversation, but the guy just said, hey, do you read the comments? Like, do you see what people are saying in the comment section? And, my response to that is I'm not a censor. I'm not here to censor anyone. Even though it's my page, it's not my job in society or in life to censor anybody, especially here in the United States. For two things. First of all, you have the right to say what you want. Okay? And the other thing is, if Facebook doesn't like it, then they're going to be more than proactive to deal with you and your comments. Why would I, on top of that, censor you? So I am not here to censor anyone. I welcome people from the left. I welcome people from the right. I welcome people in the middle, independents, anyone. I don't care. I love everybody.
Even from the side?
Yes, even from the side and upside down.
You weirdo.
Okay, but look, it just so happens that my audience is conservative. That's just who I appeal to, right? What kind of marketing person or business person would I be? As someone trying to grow a podcast in a base, would I be with my ideals and principles, to go to a liberal Facebook group and try and market it there? That wouldn't be very smart, would it? So it just so happens that my base is conservative. So when a person on the left comes into the comment section and starts saying, do you see what everyone's saying, blah, 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 it's so one-sided? Well, yeah, that's who I appeal to. But I'm open to having, I don't care if it's just because it's called Real Conservative Talk, half the name is just a pseudonym? Is that the word I'm thinking of, Zach, where it kind of means something else? Because obviously the way I talk on the podcast is very, conservative, It's pretty unfiltered. So it's kind of got a double meaning behind it. I just happen to be a conservative as well. But, I read the comments, and I don't agree with a lot of the comments. I think a lot of them are over the top, but, it is what it is. Now, on TikTok, I will say, and I told you this earlier, is that there's some comments on TikTok. Facebook's not that bad, but there's some comments on TikTok that me and Kyle were going through them, and I was like cringing. I was like, I would never say anything like that. But it is not my job to censor anybody. Okay? I will leave the censorship bullshit up to Facebook. That is a big thing on this podcast, this show, and in my pages and social media pages from here on out. I mean, it always has been. But I'm not here to censor anybody, okay? I'm not here to enforce any laws, any rules. I would like everyone to be respectful, but I can't control everyone being respectful to everyone. The only thing I can control is the content that in a discussion that you and I have, Zach, and anyone else that wants to join in, okay? And how we treat people that are on the page. I can only control how I interact with people in the content that I put out. Everything else is that's why when let's go back to Trump, because we're gonna get into Trump today. But when you see they said David Duke supports Trump, that does not mean that Trump is a racist. Donald Trump does not control who supports him. There's a lot of bad people. George Soros, maybe, is one that comes to mind that support the left. So let's not just single people out here. Just because bad people support you or bad people fall in line with some of your ideas does not mean that you completely align with that bad person. It does not make you a bad person. I guarantee you the school shooter in Michigan last week had a couple friends at school, right? So does that mean that they're all school shooters because they hung out with them? No. And so, that's, I just want to say that. I just want people to understand that. Okay, first of all, we're granted the freedom of speech, the freedom of press, the freedom to protest, peacefully protest by the First Amendment, freedom of religion, all that. And it's protected by the Second. The reason why it's protected by the Second is so that no one can ever take that right away from you. And I'm not going to be the person that even begins to try. So if you have a problem with something in the comments that's being said, then you have the free will to not interact in the comment section, or to comment all you want and talk shit all you want. I'm not gonna. I hate when I go into. I got kicked out of the Our Politics subreddit for asking a legitimate question about something that Joe Biden said, and they deleted me. They booted me out and blocked me. I got banned from the subreddit for asking a question. That is not what I am here to do. I don't care if you hate me, if you hate the whole group. If you still want to come in and talk crap all day long, then that's fine. Now, spam or something like that, that's different. That's a whole different deal. Like if you're putting like these weird links and things, that's different. But just you having a conversation, no. And the people that are follow the page, I want you to also understand that. The people that watch me and are support my ideas and follow the page. If someone, a liberal or someone, is in the comment section, I am not going to kick that person out. They have as much right to be in there and talk all the smack they want as you do. And if you can't dish it out, or if you can't take it, then don't dish it out. And I'll leave the censorship bullshit and the Facebook jail and all that up to Facebook. But I'm not gonna take on that role. No, I refuse to. They can destroy the whole page, everything I've worked for, Zach. Almost 3,000 followers, which doesn't seem like a lot, but it's a lot to me. You know how much I put into this lately and trying to get this going, and we have a lot of fun with it, don't you?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's just like kind of me like hanging out with you.
Yeah, and
it is for me.
We just get
like
on, we
just
talk,
having a phone call
we
in the morning.
BS. Yeah, I mean, we BS. It kind of gets your mind off of work and everything like that, right? And I hope that people that I know, we may not have a lot of people that come and watch it live. It's just easier for me to record it live, but we do have a lot of people that go back and watch the episodes. Period. I do know that. And I hope that it's a good show for them, and we're working to make it better. But if it takes me, if Facebook takes that page down and the podcast goes away because someone's going to censor me, that's fine. But I am not going to be the person that abides by their standards and enforce their standards. I'm going to make them enforce their own stupid standards. That's just my belief. And I feel very strongly about that. So, I just wanted to address that right off the bat. Now, what I want to talk about today, Zach, I was on TikTok last night, and I think I may have someone that's coming on the podcast next week. He's a leftist, and we're going to debate a little bit. He seemed like a smart guy. And he was pretty cool. He was on TikTok, he was doing live, and obviously my account with however many thousand followers got deleted last week, so I wasn't able to do the live because I was wanting to debate him. I reached out to him on Facebook. I found him on Facebook. I reached out to him and said, hey, I would have loved to have debated you on some of these topics. The guy that called in to debate him didn't know anything. And asked him if he wanted to come on. He said he was open to it. Now, I told him to check out the podcast, and I hope he doesn't just think I'm some crazy nut and get the wrong episode and not want to come on. But we'll see. I think next Tuesday or something, we're going to try and get him on. But one of the topics he said, now this is the first thing, and I've said this before. They brought up capitalism. And the guy who was a conservative, I'm assuming, asked him, he said, what do you think about capitalism? And his response was, well, I don't consider myself a capitalist. Well, I went and I looked at his TikTok page, and he has like 100,000 followers. He's got a YouTube channel. He has a Facebook page. I don't know if it's very big, but he promotes his stuff. But he's promoting a brand. And he's talking, and he's doing, I mean, he had a lot of people on this live last night. Like, he's got a very good TikTok following.
Mm-hmm.
Where are you not a capitalist in that equation? If you're putting in the time to grow a base on a platform to get the views, then I guarantee you he's not turning down the advertising revenue. You're building a business. And you're doing it in a way that you get in what you put out, or you get out what you put in. If that's not the definition of like capitalism, hard work, you work your way up, you're building your own business, your own platform to speak on and get your message out there. Same thing I'm doing. The only difference is that me as a conservative and a capitalist, I'm admitting that I'm trying to send a good message out and grow my base and be able to be successful at this. And he's saying he's not for that? It's a little hypocritical.
Well, I also don't think I really don't think people understand how good they have it in the United States, because they view what they're doing, what you're doing, all that stuff. They view that as just a regular, every day-to-day thing that everybody can do, no questions asked. And I mean, I think that's just a.
So what do you mean now? And when I say what do you mean, I'm trying to get like. Are you saying it's just a hobby, or are you saying that anyone can do it?
No, like, for instance, if I don't know, if my neighbor down the road happened to have a mic and a phone and an internet connection, they could do exactly this. No questions.
Yeah.
I mean, it's simple to do. It's simple to start. That's why so many people do it. But the problem is that people who are not, I think this is a wrong word, but like culturized, they've never experienced anything different than what they have now. Don't understand that the ability to be able to do this right here, or,
now with him, let me just, I don't mean to interrupt you, but with this guy, he's, first of all, he's sounds like he's a pretty intelligent person. He looks like he's about our age.
Okay.
And I was listening to him, and the reason why I was willing to go reach out to him too is because he seemed like, you don't find a lot of people that not only want to talk politics, but are fluent in it, right? Yeah. I don't consider myself very fluent in it, to be honest with you, because there's just, for me, I know like the financial part and the economics part, but there's a lot of things that I had to go read up on and all that stuff, right? I think in concepts, not necessarily like the specifics, but today I'm going to get into specifics. But he is well aware of his platform and what it can provide him, and he's obviously worked hard to build up the platform on TikTok, right? And so I don't think it's that it's let me restructure what I think you were trying to say is, I think they have a lack of understanding of what capitalism and socialism and communism are.
And I think that's where I was going with it, because let's say, I don't know, let's say he rolls, just because it's the easiest country to bring up, let's say he goes to North Korea, tries to do this. What's going to happen to him?
Well, he can't do it, period. And that's the extreme, right? Because that is a straight communist
right.
country.
It's the
Soviet
extreme,
Union type, yeah.
But that's my point. Some people don't appreciate what they have because they've never experienced anything different. And they don't know it because they've never, I don't know, the only word I can think of is they've never been culturized. They only know one thing.
Well, what you're seeing now, I think, is you're seeing, first of all, I have seen hardcore communists here in the United States, like open communists. And what's crazy? I believe they used to put them in jail back in like the 50s and 60s. Yeah, communists? Yeah. We fought wars over communism, Zach. The Korean War, the Vietnam War, the Cold War. Yeah. But what you're seeing though is the majority of people though that people on my Facebook page would call commies or communist, they define themselves as socialist. Now, what I think that these people that are saying they're socialists or they're democratic socialists, right? That's the big word. What I think they think that is not as extreme, not as radical. They just want to implement certain things, the free healthcare, the free social security net, the free college, the free childcare, all that stuff. But they want to do it all. Okay? Free. But they're not like, but what they're getting at is they still are communists because socialism is just a head start to communism. That's all it is. And the difference between capitalism and communism, definition-wise, is the ownership of the means of production. And I've said this before, but I want to go into it a little more. But the means of production is, let's just say, just producing goods, right? Or property ownership. So right now, I have the ranch in Alabama, Zach, right? In a communist society, you can't own that. In China, you can't have private property. It's public land. The people own it. Same thing in North Korea. The people own it, right? The problem is that public, You have public and private ownership. We have public and private ownership still here in the United States. We have socialist tendencies. Do you know what a public good would be, Zach?
What do you mean a public good?
A public good. So you have public and private goods. All right? A public good is like a park. Something that's operated by either your state and local government or the federal government. That would be a public good or service. Social Security is a public it's a social service. It's a public. I don't want to say it's a good because it's not a good, but it's given to you by the government, right?
Mm-hmm.
You owning your business or your house, that's private ownership. You as the individual own that, or as the business own it. See the difference?
Mm-hmm.
So if my property in Alabama is privately owned right now by me, if we made it publicly owned, what does that mean? What now comes to your head?
Everybody can
The government
use
owns it. The government owns it.
Oh, okay.
The people own the government. We control the government, right? We vote in our people. We pay taxes that funds the government, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we have the government to oversee and basically control all that stuff for us. This is where we have a big, I think, misconception where people aren't educated on the ins and outs of socialism and communism, and where you start going down a slippery slope. Publicly owned means of production does not mean that we're going to sit around, playing hee-haw with the fuck around gang, like they say in the campaign, right? And just collaborate, me, you, and everyone else in this podcast, let's say, and talk about, okay, so today we're going to make 10 shirts, and we all make these decisions. No. It doesn't work like that. We still don't own that means of production. We still have the government telling us how much we're going to create that day for the good of the country, for the good of the nation. So in North Korea, Yeonmi Park, people need to go watch Yeonmi Park talk about North Korea. She's a defector from North Korea, but she's great. But she even talks about this stuff. But I also watched this. There's a documentary on YouTube, and I don't know how this South Korean girl or woman, sorry, she's like a teacher. She got access, some crazy kind of access, and she literally goes around North Korea and places like she doesn't have the North Koreans around them either. She's just traveling, staying with. I think she's got family there or something. I don't know how she got this access, but she did. It's the best documentary I've seen. And she goes place to place, and she's talking to a rice farmer. And the rice farmer says when they farm the rice, they get a certain amount for their family, and the rest is called patriotic rice. The government comes and collects the rice, and that's used to disperse throughout the country. So that rice would be a public good then. It would be publicly owned. In the United States, if I farmed rice on my property, I farm it, I take it to the market, and the people that want the rice are going to come up and buy the rice. So in North Korea, the government would tell them, hey, we need so much rice this year. Whereas in the United States, I'm going to grow rice because demand says that I need to grow rice. See the difference? And I'm going to profit as a person that put in the hard work and labor to grow that good or that crop. I'm going to profit for my work. Whereas in a communist country, they're going to pay you a set rate, everyone the same, and you're not, it doesn't matter.
Well, I mean, at that point, you're just another government entity.
Exactly. Everything is a government entity. This is how things are in China. China's GDP per capita is only $10,000. You know what ours is? Like $50,000 or $60,000. So that's per person, let's say.
Are you saying we're better?
Yes. We are far more richer than China on a per capita basis.
We're just the better country?
Yeah. We're better than everyone. Come on.
Oh, okay.
America. Let's go, Brandon.
He's so dumb.
But people have a big misconception. Now, when you go and you read like the Communist Manifesto, and they have another website that has it on there, they do a good job of portraying, ins and outs of communism and putting down capitalism and all that stuff. The biggest thing that they try to hit on is how the business owners and the people in power take advantage of the labor force. And in communism, that doesn't happen. The whole thing about communism is making everyone equal. This is where we start going down a slippery slope, though. First of all, we need to take into consideration behavioral aspects of us as human beings. We have to have something that motivates us. We all like to do something. We all have a hobby. I like to hunt. Zach, you like to hunt, but you have other hobbies too you like to do. Something motivates you to do that. Whether it's to complete it, whether it's, me doing this podcast because maybe I can make some money at it, but there's a motivational factor behind it. We have to have some kind of drive. Especially with society today, we're not a species where we're out hunting and gathering and killing every day. So back in the day, before technology and all that stuff, our ancestors, their drive was to survive. Now it's not to survive, now it's to live comfortably. And do all the fun things that we want to do because we have developed and advanced into a society that's able to do that. What happened in the Soviet Union is there was no motivation. Everyone was equal. No matter what work you did, no matter how much you put in, nothing. There was nothing to show for it. There was no reason for you to go and do anything more than what you had to do because you were always going to go to a store that had just enough bread or an empty shelf. You may not eat that day. You were hardly making any money. The problem is that to make people equal, you're not going to lift everyone up. That's why this I hope it was a facade. Is that the right? That's not the right word. Bullshit that Joe Biden preaches. I'm trying to be a little more censored, at least in the cussing part, because I have a lot going on the Facebook page, and I can't. There has to be a happy medium here, all right, with the show and the Facebook page, because the Facebook page is pretty bad. Not with the comments, just the videos. But the bullshit that Joe Biden preaches about building our economy from the bottom up and the middle out. That's not going to happen. The only way you make everyone equal is by bringing everyone down and making them equal. You can't lift everyone up and make them equal. You can't. Now, you may be able to lift the people at the very bottom up slightly, but the people in the middle and the top are going to come all the way down. Meanwhile, the government, the people that everyone hates, period, well, some people do like the government, because if you're a communist, you're all about the government, but the majority of people bitch and complain about something in the government. Meanwhile, they have all the power still. There's a lot more that goes into this communist and socialist ordeal than just free health care or free child care. There's a lot more that is not considered by these people. And if you go back and you read history, and I'm not talking about Joy Reid history, who will probably tell us that Pearl Harbor is done by white supremacists today. Can't wait to watch her stupid ass monologue she has today. So Joy Reid history is stupid history. If you watch Joy Reid history, you need to find another source. But if you go read a book, Why Nations Fail. Great book. Go read Why Nations Fail. You'll have a great understanding about how these systems, why certain societies advance over others. Why economic systems advance over others. Why has communism never, ever, 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 ever worked? In the short period of time it's been around, so I think since like 1849 or something, like some 1840s or whatever he wrote the Communist Manifesto, it has never worked. In fact, that's not that long ago. It's like 170 years. It has failed like dozens of times. It literally has an O in however much record. They're winless on the communist side. The only thing the commies ever won was a few gold medals in hockey. And they ended up getting their ass whooped too. 1980, baby. And they were never the same after that. Actually, I think they beat the hell out of us the next time. They were really better than us in hockey. They really were. But that's a good example too. You know, the hockey team, for the Russian hockey team, they were literally conscripts in the military. And their whole job every day, all 9 to 10 months out of the year, Zach, was nothing but hockey.
Nothing but a good hockey team.
Yeah, they were freaks. Go back. I've watched. It's called the Red Army, or there's a documentary about them. Oh, they were freaks.
Oh, they go watch what's it called? We watched it in college with Blaine.
Well, Miracle. Yeah, Miracle. The movie.
Yeah,
that's what I'm talking about. So it's about that team. There's a real documentary though that talks to the people that were on that team, the Russian team.
But that is a documentary.
No, it's not a documentary. That's a Disney movie.
No, it's a documentary.
No, Zach. I'm not denying that it's historically accurate. But it's not a documentary.
Are you trying to say that when you watch that movie you don't get fired up?
Oh, I did. I watched it
Blaine right now.
I watched it not long ago. I love the movie.
Okay.
Beat those commie bastards. Come on.
I'll call Blaine right now, and he will wreck you.
Oh no! It's a great movie, but there's a documentary that gives you more insight. So I actually watched the movie. It was right after Brit left, I think, and right after I watched the movie, I went and watched the documentary. And you get the perspective of the Russian players. So the Russians from like 1960 to then 1980 never lost a game. They played our NHL teams and would beat the hell out of them. They would drag our NHL teams. And when they were done, and because they weren't allowed to come over and play in the United States professionally until after the Soviet Union fell, they finally got permission to come over here. I think it was the Detroit Red Wings. One of them had like 4 or 5 guys off that team, and they went and just destroyed the NHL. They won the Stanley Cup. Yeah, like they're the best team. These guys were so good, they would score goals, Zach, and you know hockey, right? You've been to the Preds games and stuff. Like, they go crazy, right? To them, it was just whatever. Like, that was what they were supposed to do. They felt like they didn't get excited. It was a job. They said this is what caught me off guard when they said this. So they didn't expect the Americans to come out and beat them. No one did. The Americans, they came from behind every game in that tournament leading up until then. They were not supposed to compete with that team. But they came out and they got up early on them and they caught them off guard. And the goalie for the United States just played like one of the greatest games in Olympic history. Can't remember his name, but he's a famous goalie. But he just played out of his mind because the United States scored their last goal at the beginning of the third period, and he had to go and the Russians were just teeing off on him, and yeah, I see that. He's out now. Guy just came in here and started trolling. Hey, you like the podcast, so give us 10 hearts. Yeah, I saw that, Eric. But, damn it. I can't say his name or I'd yell at him because it's a very racist name this guy had that came in here and started trolling.
The foot fetish guy?
Yeah. You see everything.
You got a foot fetish? Don't lie. Don't lie to the people.
No, I don't. But
it's okay.
Damn it.
We still love you.
He messed up my train of thought. So when the United States finally beat them, and everyone's going wild, right? The guys on the Russian team were actually excited for the United States because it was the first time they got a feeling of like excitement for the game. They were like, wow. They were. You can actually see it on the real footage and in the movie. They kind of show it a little bit. In the background, the Russian players were like clapping and smiling for them. Like they weren't hurt about it. The Russian players talk about how that gave them the first Hold on, Eric. Let me finish my thought here. That gave him like the first sense of like, capitalism in because they played in Canada, I think, or up in New York somewhere right there. And they were over here and like they just get, they got a sense of the West and they saw how excited we were with the sports and how everyone was so happy and everything like that. They just didn't get that over in Russia. So I tell all that story to come back to that. There's more to the capitalism and communism systems than just the economy. It's a thought. It's a way of life. So, you want to talk about happier society? Well, the North Koreans have everything paid for. They don't even pay for housing or anything. And you're telling me you go live in North Korea? No. The Soviet Union was the same exact way. But there are people, for whatever reason, like Bernie Sanders, like they would live in the Soviet Union. I don't understand that. Whoever the pod... So Eric was saying that he thought he knew who that troll was. He says, whoever this Podbeam troll is, I've seen them in other shows using the likeness of other names, including North Dakota Democrat Unit Senate candidate Michael J. Steele, as well as Foot Fetish Inc. and a couple other people. It's not nice to impersonate people. It's not. I will give him credit. He came in here and hit us with a like, though. At least he had the audacity to do that. So that's the first time I've run into it. Yeah, he did boost our engagement score. Like I said, we don't get a lot of people watching the live streams, but it is a lot easier for me to record it and then especially because I have the video going too. Our viewership comes afterwards. But kind of piggybacking off of this communism conversation, I have the numbers. I wanted to talk about, did Trump benefit the average U.S. citizen? And this is one that everyone goes back and forth arguing, and I don't understand what the argument is. But people go back and forth and arguing. When you are, let's say anyone listening, I want you to think. When you think of a president and how he's benefited you, and I'm not talking about everyone else. I'm not talking about the economy. I'm not talking about the United States. I'm talking about you individually. What president have you individually seen a benefit from? That be it cash in hand from making more money or less money. It doesn't have to be a good benefit. But something that a president has done that has physically altered your life. Here I think this troll's back in. Hold on, let me see if I can do something here. He's blocked. I blocked him. I don't know if that's going to work or not. I don't think it's going to kick him, but trying to block him. It's fucking rude. Like, dude, just let me talk into the damn podcast. You want to come in here and ruin it. Like, I'm on a live stream and people are coming in here and trolling. I don't care about you commenting, you say what you want, but just to sit here and share it. Hell, you're not even getting any new viewers in here sharing it, so stop. But think about that, Zach. Have you ever, what president, I know what your answer is going to be because I know we've talked about this, but what president has done something that you physically have benefited from? It could also be something like you're on your way to work and he helped with the infrastructure bill pave a damn road for you to get to your office every day. It could be something like that. It could be, he saved you money, whatever. The freaking stock market was booming and you made a lot of money in your 401k. Something like that.
Well, the one that I saw that actually affected me was Trump.
Exactly.
Because I remember, we were talking about it at work when I was at Nissan, and everybody was like, "Yeah, you'll see it. You should see it on your pay stub." Blah blah blah. And I went and literally compared two pay stubs, and I saw the actual increase of the money that I was being paid because of what he did.
Exactly. Here's what I have. Let me log on here, but I have put together what the Trump tax legislation, how it impacted a regular everyday American. And the problem when people are having this conversation, first of all, the majority of people don't know how to calculate taxes. Okay, they think, oh, I'm in the 25% tax bracket, so I pay 25%. No, that's not right. That's not how it works. But Trump did something with these tax cuts. See, when you listen to the news and they talk about the tax cuts and they talk about, oh, these tax cuts cost, $2 trillion. Who the fuck did it cost $2 trillion? It cost the government $2 trillion. It didn't cost you a damn thing. It put money in your pocket. Look, here's how things work. You have a finite amount of money. Say we have $100. Split between me and you, Zach, right? Either one of us can have the full amount, we can each have half, or we can each have a portion, and split it up however which way, right? But it's only between you and I. It switches between your hand and my hand, right? So that $2 trillion is either in the private sector's hands or it's in the government's hands. Trump's tax cuts did not cost any person, any private individual, a dime. It didn't cost them a dime. In fact, it gave them more money. All it did was redistribute money from the government into the private sector. That's it. The other thing, when you hear the term trickle-down economics, do not fall for that. Trickle-down economics does not exist. In fact, trickle-down economics isn't a Ronald Reagan thing. Trickle-down economics has been around since like the 1930s, and it's always been something that the Democrats have been using to basically criticize tax policy of the right. But trickle-down economics does not exist. In fact, the Laffer curve, which is what Ronald Reagan used, derived from Arthur Laffer, who lives here in Nashville and I've met and had lunch with, and he's a very smart person. Okay, all that is it's a graph that shows that if you increase tax revenue too much, you make less tax revenue. Or if you increase tax brackets too much, you make less tax revenue. If you drop tax percentages too low, you make less tax revenue. All it's showing you is an equilibrium in tax rates and tax revenue. How you maximize tax revenue for the government and lower taxes for everyone in the private sector, so you're not a hindrance on them. Because here's the thing, if you increase taxes, the more you increase taxes, the less people are going to pay. The lower you put taxes, people are going to pay, but you're not going to get as much, right? To an extent. That's why they don't go all the way zero. There hasn't not always been an income tax in the United States. I believe like 1917 or World War I-ish, it could be a little bit earlier than that, is when they came out with the income tax. And they did to fund military stuff, I believe, like World War I. Don't quote me on that, though. But I am not a tax person. I think tax is it's robbery. We literally had a war in 1776 over taxes. A lot of that had to do with taxes. But, a different kind, but still. So, if you're a president, like President Biden, and you're making these promises like I'm going to build from the bottom up and the middle out, and telling people that trickle-down economics doesn't work. Well, no shit, it doesn't work, Sherlock, because it doesn't exist. Because the tax policies that Trump did, that Reagan did, that the right is proposing when they're talking about tax cuts, directly puts money not into the wealthy's hands, it puts it into the poor's hands too. Directly. It's not something that the poor has to wait on. That's going, the rich are going to go spend more money in the economy and the poor are going to benefit from it. No. When you cut taxes and you cut them across the board, everyone keeps more money that they get paid. It's simple. It's literally just simple concept. So in 2016, if you were making $50,000 as a single person, now I'm not talking, we're going to make this as simple as possible. $50,000 in income, your gross income, and you're single. 2016, you would have had your standard deduction of $6,300. This is Obama tax law. This is the last year, or second to last year of Obama tax law, the year before Trump got in office. You would have paid a total tax with Social Security, Medicare, and income tax of $10,520. Your take-home pay would have been $39,479.15. The money that you paid in income taxes, the portion going to income taxes, that is would have been $6,695, giving you a effective tax rate of 13.4%. So you paid 13.4% of your gross income of $50,000 towards income taxes for the government. That's Obama tax law. Under Trump tax law, literally the first year of Trump tax law, when they changed the tax brackets, they dropped tax brackets and they increased the standard deduction, which is your standard deduction is how much you take off your gross that lowers your taxable income right off the top. Trump increased the standard deduction from $6,300 to $12,500 per person. He lowered the tax brackets, not just the percentages, but also the brackets themselves. So under Trump, you would have paid a total, making $50,000, you would have paid a total tax, Social Security, Medicare, and income taxes of $8,134. Your take-home pay would have been $41,865. And the amount you paid in income taxes, the portion towards income taxes was $4,309. So Trump immediately saved you with his tax cuts. The poor, the middle class, everyone, but in this example, immediately saved you $2,386 in income, which is 4.8% of your income. He immediately gave you a fucking pay increase of 4.8%. Right off the bat, bam, everyone got a raise. The only people that it cost money was the federal government. Here's the other kicker. The federal government actually collected more tax revenue when they cut taxes. So it's a lie when they say that it costs money. It costs money off their projection. But as far as what they actually collected, they collected more tax revenue. Why? Because more people were actually willing to pay the taxes. Because when you raise taxes too much, or the tax rates are higher, and the tax law is more complicated, people find ways to not pay taxes. If you increase taxes on the rich, they're going to find a way to not pay it. The only way you collect more tax revenue by raising taxes is if you raise taxes on the bottom bracket, on the poor people. That's the only way. Because then you collect everyone, because the way our tax works is it's a progressive tax plan. The more you make, the bigger percentage you pay. And you move up through these brackets. The only way you collect more tax revenue is if you lower the bottom bracket and collect and you capture everybody in those brackets, which means that you have to take more from the bottom, the lower middle class. What's up, Mr. A? What's going on? Late today, huh? So immediately on paper, every person benefited. Now that is something you can say that in my lifetime, I don't know. I wasn't old enough paying taxes when Bush did his tax cuts, but from Obama to Trump to now, within Trump's first year and he got that passed, bam, I had a benefit. I got a 4.8% pay increase. And it's all relative, whether you're married and all that stuff, it's all relative. You can use different numbers, you type them in, I'll do the math for you. Give me your situation. I'll do it for you. I'll show you what you saved. You're not going to come out better under Obama or Biden's tax plan at all. No one is. It's simple math. But it's math that not everyone knows how to do because they don't know how to calculate their taxes. They think, oh, well, I just pay 20%. Biden's saying he's lowering it to 19. No. It doesn't work like that. So, your effective tax rate, by the way, so under Obama it was 13.4%. Your effective tax rate under Trump was 8.6%. And we're not even going to get into the whole Social Security bullshit today. But we're just talking about the income taxes. I'm just showing people on paper what Trump did for everybody, whether you are a liberal, whether you're a black, you're a white, you're a Mexican, whatever. Racist old bigot Trump made you money immediately by passing that tax cut. Don't listen to the bullshit media. And or don't listen to the left Congress people that talk about how much tax cuts cost people, how much it cost. It cost the government money. It didn't cost you a damn thing. In fact, it helped you. So I'm gonna get up and shut this door real quick. Give me 1 second, guys. But isn't it wild how that works? Isn't it wild how people will pitch it from one side? It's not that they're wrong, because it did cost someone money. It actually didn't, but there you can make the argument that it cost the government. The problem is that when they're relaying the message to the general public, they think that we give a shit about how much it costs the government. Here's the thing. They wouldn't even have to worry about how much Trump's tax cuts cost the government if we didn't have stupid government policies that never expired, like Social Security. If there was no Social Security, they wouldn't really have to care about collecting all this tax revenue from everyone. Raising taxes we could have the free health. Well, we couldn't even have the free health care because we're too fat. That's a whole other conversation. But these are all things I've talked about on the podcast. Go back and listen to the episodes. But it just wouldn't be that serious of a conversation because we just cut out the things that are costing us money. Like the NATO. We're wasting money on overpaying in NATO. A lot of these are things that Trump addressed. And here's my problem is that Republicans don't talk about this a lot. Some do. Some play the game. I have a huge problem with Republicans in Congress. A lot of them. Mitch McConnell, all of them, they're not worth a shit. They're not. They're still career politicians that have been there for 40 years. I have a big problem with them. Because they ain't changed on either. When they're on these committees and these finance committees and these tax committees, it's not because they have all this experience in that industry. No, they just called and kissed ass and raised money for the party. And then if you raise enough money, you can be a chairman of that committee. And then if you raise enough money and suck enough dick, you can be Nancy Pelosi and be the Speaker of the House. That's literally how it works. This is well documented. This is how it goes down. Experience has nothing to do with it. Unless it's experience in bed.
Being so blunt today.
I'm actually being better than I normally am, though.
A little bit. Still being blunt.
I think my portrayal of the message may come across, but I'm not cussing as much as I normally do.
Yeah, that's fair. I'll give you that. You're keeping the F-bombs and all that good stuff to a minimum.
I feel like this is monetized material. They're not going to say that it's against their standards. Maybe for the dick sucking comment. Oh, there I go again.
God.
But I'm not saying, like, I have links. Zach and I have talked about this before. I have links on other podcasts. I'll go back and get the links. Like, all that stuff is well documented. So when you see the people on the Judiciary Committee holding these hearings, half of them probably aren't even attorneys. They just raise money. That's literally all they do. This is my problem with Congress. It's about Tulsi Gabbard brought this up. And it's something that we all know goes on. But she brought it up. And it's something that bothered her. She said the first day she got there, she went with the Democrats. They split them up. Republicans and Democrats, all the rookie Congress people. And they went and had a meeting. And it was the only thing that mattered was wins for the party. That's the only thing that mattered. And that's not right. That's wrong. That's not right at all. That's not how it should be. It should be about you're doing things that you believe are correct in your position with your beliefs. And hopefully that reflects the people that voted for you. And you're doing what you think is in the best interest of the country. Or the people that you're representing. Not the Democratic or Republican Party. Because that's where corruption comes into play. That's where, we have these career politicians. Like, it's a game, and it's not a game. People's lives are changed by the decisions that they make. And yes, Eric, I agree. Tulsi Gabbard does come across as a common sense Democrat. She's the only Democratic candidate I've ever seen and said I would consider voting for Tulsi Gabbard. Depending on who else is running, obviously. And I didn't always have that opinion of her because I think economics-wise, I don't think she's all there. I like her foreign policy. She has experience there, but I don't think she's all there economics. But she's probably better now. This was a while ago I listened to her, but Congress people only work like 10-hour weeks. Other than that, they're out, doing whatever, whining and moaning. Finding out what business owner they can call in to have a hearing, or complaining about something someone did, or most of the time they're just calling trying to raise money for the party. And that's how they get on these committees. On our finance committee, there was like 3 people on the finance committee that had any experience in banking or finance or anything related to that such. That's it. Like 3 or 4 people. I went through one day and literally looked at this. And that's why I think it's funny that with Boebert, the girl from Colorado, crazy girl with the gun-toting girl, she's awesome, by the way. The one that Ilhan Omar hung up on and was whining and moaning about because she had these anti-Muslim rhetoric or something like that. Like Ilhan Omar hasn't made the most anti-Semitic statements ever, but she has her own issues. But they're talking about, we want her removed from these committees. Okay, whoop-de-doo. It doesn't change one bit of difference, even if you do remove her. It doesn't make one bit of difference to the committee because she probably just raised enough money to get on it. Everyone in that Congress is interchangeable. Everyone. In the Senate, it gets even worse because you have people in the Senate that have been there forever. But there's a lot of misconception when I don't want to go down the road. It's not that people that decide that disagrees with me. And it's not a lot. People who are liberals or on the left have valid reasons. And Zach, the guy I told you earlier, right? He seems like someone that can maybe lay down an argument on why he feels the way he does. I don't think he can lay out a good enough one. But they have their reasons. But the majority of people I hear, like the crazy people, that are all about the censorship, all about forcing you to take the vaccine. They want to have the socialists. They want to have free this, free that. They don't understand, money comes from somewhere. Production comes from somewhere. This stuff costs money. Because Biden hasn't given me anything yet. Biden hasn't done anything. Now, we'll see what this infrastructure deal does. It's been less than a year. But Biden, even anything that he's proposed will not benefit me. In fact, it'll hurt me. And I can show it on paper. The tax changes he wants to make, I can show you on paper. Inflation, I can show you on paper. My gas expense has increased for my business 60% so far this year. That has hurt me. And that comes from multiple factors, but one of them being Biden's policies on how he's handled oil. So, you tell me. I just laid out my argument for Trump and his policy. Oh, here's the other thing Trump did, was he got rid of the penalty for not having health insurance, not being on Obamacare. And that, for me, was a big one. And I'm going to tell you guys a story. It's a personal one. And I know we're getting close.
You starting another story at the hour mark?
Well, you can always get off. I'll keep talking.
Man, you keeping these people.
They're listening. Hell, me and Eric got on and talked for another hour yesterday, and they cut the damn podcast off at the 2 hour mark.
Yeah, I hear you. All right, well, I do have to dip.
That's fine.
So you go on with your story.
Yeah. Bye, Zach.
Bye.
But when I was 26 and I fell off my parents' health care, I didn't even notice Piccoli was here. I had to find health insurance. I'm self-employed, so it's not offered by the people I work for, right? I work for myself. I have Tourette's syndrome. Now, if anyone knows anything about Tourette's, it is not a health issue. It's some twitches and I can't sit still. That's all it is. However, the health insurance people said that, yep, ticks. There you go, Eric. For the better health plan, the underwritten plan, they said I didn't qualify because of my Tourette's, which was crazy because I take Adderall and they didn't care about that. But the Tourette's did it. So I had to go on what you would say the Obamacare plan, which is a guaranteed issue insurance, where no pre-existing conditions will affect you, blah, 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 whatever. And I was willing to pay for it. It's like $300 a month. That's okay, whatever. I need health insurance. So I go on this guaranteed issue plan, sign up, make my payment. I go to my doctor to get my physical, give him my insurance card. Guess what? We don't take that insurance. We don't accept that kind of insurance. Oh, you mean Obama lied? I thought the doctors had to accept. No, they don't. That plan was worthless. What did I do? I called up and canceled it. Why pay $300 a month for something I can't benefit from where I could save the $300 a month and pay cash? That's what I do now. I save it up. You have a safety fund if something does happen. And this is just me. I'm not giving you advice here, but I'm just saying the alternative. Why would I pay $300 a month as a healthy person that runs miles a day? Obviously, for the event that something could happen, yes. I have other stuff in place for that. But you save up. Why would I pay $300 a month for something that's not going to pay for my physicals, not going to pay for anything? I'll just go pay cash. In fact, I pay less because when you pay cash, you can actually negotiate the prices at the doctor's office. You pay less. So, you want my reasoning on why I think some of the way that I think? Well, Obama has screwed me on the health insurance part. The doctor does not take that kind of insurance is because I have Tourette's. Like, that's not even bad. That's if you're on a scale of like 1 to 10 of things that could be not morbid, not that could kill you, or sorry, not mortal, but morbid, things that would make you have health issues, which is what matters for health insurance. That's like a 0, at least for me. Like, it has never caused a health issue, period. But I couldn't get the insurance for that. The better insurance. So I had to go on the Obamacare stuff and the doctor didn't take it. It was a waste of my money. A waste of my money. It also took competition out of the private sector. You want to complain about private healthcare? Private and competition drives innovation. I say this all the time. Competition drives innovation. And it leads to cheaper prices. It does not. And here's the other thing, Eric. You're saying the money grab, and I agree. Our Congress people have the best health care that you can get. The absolute best. They work 10-hour weeks. And they're public servants. And they have the best health care they can get. And they make $175,000 a year. They should have to be on the exact plan that the average regular American would be on in their health care system that they implement. If we had a Medicare for all society, they would have different insurance. They would have private insurance. And the wealthy would too. In Australia, again, I have close ties to Australia. It's funny to me. Because I tell Britt, I always give her a hard time. They have the public insurance. Everyone has health insurance. They brag about it, right? Blah, 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 blah. What does her family do? They go and get their own private plan. And pay every month for a private insurance plan. Wait, what do you mean? You have Medicare. You mean the private one's better? You mean you don't have to wait in line as long? You mean you get better service? You can go to a private hospital? Oh. So maybe there isn't something to this Medicare for all. It's just funny to me. It's like, all I want is the choice. I want the choice to be able to go and get my own health, the health insurance that's good. I want companies to be able to compete in providing the insurance. The reason why life insurance is so cheap, first of all, like term insurance, because less than 1% of them ever pay out, but also because you have these other companies that are competing with each other, trying to get the business. There's a lot of factors that play into it, and it drives premiums down. The same thing would happen with healthcare. You know what else would lower healthcare premiums? Is if our society as a whole was healthier. If we stopped worrying about fat shaming people and actually focused on making them have PE class and being active. Countries like Norway, their obesity rate is like 4%. Ours is like 40%. We have too many fat people in the United States. And I say fat people because we have a lot of overweight people, and overweight related issues is the majority cause for our healthcare system. We spend 18% of our GDP on social spending. Part of that is Medicare and health care. And our health spending is far higher than everyone else's. It's not even close. We spend more money than all the other countries that have the Medicare for all. We're already outspending it. And most of the money that we're spending on the health issues are obesity-related issues. Stuff that can be controlled a lot of times. And now I see everyone saying how guilty they are and stuff. Look, guys, I'm not here to criticize anyone. I'm just here to be honest. I'm just going through, research that I've done and put these numbers together and see how they correlate. And so So Eric says, if Obamacare is supposed to be so good, why isn't Congress on it? Exactly. If COVID shot is supposed to be so good, why aren't they pushing it without a license to practice medicine? Not getting it. Oh, yes. And questions worth asking, they probably won't answer. No, they won't answer. Here's the problem with COVID. And here's why they don't like the heartworm medicine, or not the heartworm medicine, but the horse dewormer, the Joe Rogan pill, ivermectin. Zach and I talked about this too. Ivermectin costs for 100 pills, I think it's like $2. One vaccine dose is between $14 and $16. The government has already paid up front for these vaccine doses. They're not paying, it's not like Pfizer's giving them a bill like, hey, here's how many people got the vaccine, right? Pay for it. No, they're like, hey, Pfizer, we're going to give you how much for, 1 billion doses of COVID vaccine. Here's the money. They already paid. So if you already paid for something, if you were going to have a party and you fronted the money up front for a party, you're going to make sure your kids show up to that party. It's already paid for. But if it was like a, you know, we're going to have a party, but you only pay for like the stuff that you use while you're there, you know, and you'll get the bill afterwards, you know, well, you're just going to be at the party and you're, you know, how can I save money while I'm at the party? You're not going to be as worried about it. In fact, you're going to be more cautious. Oh, we forgot we don't talk about that. What, the COVID vaccine? Oh, if not ivermectin, you have remdesivir, which is what Trump took. Hydroxychloroquine's another thing. Yeah, so I don't know of anyone getting kicked off Podbean, but people do get kicked off Facebook Live for saying words like that. But it's a money issue with COVID. Oh, yeah, YouTube. I haven't had any issues with YouTube, but I am now on Rumble, which is way better than all of them. So go check me out on Rumble. But a lot of this is a money issue with these vaccines. The other problem I have is, why are we funding vaccines for the world? Why aren't they paying for it? Clapper in the new year. I'll check out Clapper now, too. I'm all for any kind of social media platform that's going to get this out. But why aren't we... Oh, what's up, Spicoli? We got cut off yesterday, and I was just on the subject that we were talking about. You can feel free to call in. We can finish that conversation. But why are... No, I lost where I was at. Yeah, we're vaccinating the world. We're paying to vaccinate the world. Yet, eventually this cost is going to come, and we're going to have to front the cost as members of the United States. Be it in taxes or when Pfizer... Because you understand, Pfizer's getting a lot of this stuff. They're offering it at a discount. I read an article the other day that they're going to increase the price of these doses. They're giving you the pandemic price right now. That price is going to increase. And eventually, the government's going to stop paying for these boosters every 6 months that they want us to get. We're eventually going to have to pay for it. That's when you're going to see, when that happens, though, is when you're going to see the government not have the mandates. They're not going to have, they're not going to force it. And you're just going to see this kind of drift off into another thing like the flu, maybe. Because I don't think they're going to just eradicate it. It's going to be like the flu. You can go get the COVID shot. You can not get the COVID shot. It's up to you. But now that the government has fronted all of the money for it up front, we cooked your dinner for you. Now you're going to eat it. That's exactly what it is. And I until someone shows me different, there's not enough, I haven't seen enough information on either way to change my mind. Whether it's so beneficial that we should all take it, or it doesn't work at all. I think it's just because they've already fronted the money. Don't forget the Georgia Guidestones and the language written on their global population being reduced to 500 million or lower. Do you know what kind of event would have to happen for the global population to go down to 500 million? Jesus. It's like 85, 90% of the world. Where are you at? There's Spicoli. What's going on, man?
Oh, dude.
Not much. I apologize yesterday. Eric had to educate me. Apparently, on Podbeam, they let you go, was it 2 hours and 1 minute? Or 2 hours and 2 minutes? And they cut you off without telling you.
I was wondering. I said, what the fuck happened, man?
2 hours and 2 minutes. Yeah, I hadn't. So I was having another good conversation, another episode with someone, and it did the same thing. I just thought we got cut off, right? Well, then it happened yesterday, and Eric said, no, you hit that 2 hour mark. So we'll just have to keep an eye on it. And that's what that clock's Eric, on that on-air thing, I never noticed. I never really realized it. But, so I think you've been in and out of the room, and I don't know what you've heard us talk about, But one of the things I was talking about was just, the economy, some tax stuff with Trump. And I know yesterday we were talking about Jeff Bezos. And we were talking about how he spends money, where he gets his money from, why he does certain things. Right? And to recap to the people listening, what you were saying is that he's got all this money tied up in stock. And he's spending all this money like on it's not SpaceX, but he has his own space program. He's spending a lot of money. If I remember rightly, what you were getting at is them not paying enough in taxes based off of how much money they're spending and how much money they have.
No, well, in a way I was, but then we drifted off into
where he gets the money from.
Yeah, all that. How is it? Yes.
So to recap,
I got that part, and then we got off into the part about where I had a question about when someone passes and you're left with a house and property and stuff, and what taxes do you have to pay? And you said it may vary from state to state.
Well, so the way I usually always use it. So I had to be careful when I start talking, because here's my background. Okay, I'm a registered rep and a investment advisor representative. Okay, I deal with investments. I manage money, and so I have to be careful with what I talk about, because if I start going down the road of like finance and investments and things like that, then I gotta get the podcast approved. There's a lot compliance wise, right? But I still have no problem explaining this. So right now, if you passed away and you have an investment, a house, let's say, and you bought the house 20 years ago for $100,000, and now it's worth $500,000. Your kids, if they inherit that house, they receive what's called a step-up basis or step-up cost basis in the house, which means that they inherit the house at the current value of the house, which is $500,000. And on paper, it looks like they purchased that house theoretically for $500,000. Okay? So if they sold the house the next day, let's say the next day the house was worth $600,000. I'm just using an example here. Then they only pay taxes on the gains from $500,000 to $600,000. Okay, that's how it is currently.
They only pay for $500 to $600.
Yeah, so they only pay for the difference in value from the time that they inherited it. Whatever that value is. Does that make sense?
So it could go up to, let's just say it went up. All right, you said it went up 100,000. Mm-hmm. So you say they just pay the taxes on that 100,000?
Yes. Because that's their gains. Because their cost basis was the value of the house at the time of your death.
So the 500,000 that it's worth, the kids don't have to pay then?
No. That's how it works out now. Now, when I say it changes from state to state, because you have different things, and then when you get in the real estate, there's a few tax breaks and laws. We're just keeping it simple, okay?
Yeah.
And we're just treating every investment the same here, okay? That's how it is. That's what it's called a step up in cost basis, or a step up basis. So it therefore, this is how a lot of the wealth. This is also how Trump would have helped the wealthier side. Is he increased the estate tax from like 11 million to like 22 million if you're married, okay? So people who have a lot of money, but you're still under that 22 million, you don't have to pay the estate tax. So they were getting these step-up basis in the assets, their kids were, and they don't have to pay the taxes on all the gains that the parents had throughout their life of owning that asset. So if you...
yeah, all right.
You see where I'm getting at? And that
Yes,
benefits everyone. It benefits you. It benefits rich people. It doesn't matter. That's the problem is people look at this like, oh, the rich are getting a break. Well, no, everyone's getting a break too. Because it's all relative. Okay, now there's comes a point where you're so rich you have different things to consider. But as far as like 99% of the people in the United States, it's all pretty relative.
If it's something you inherit, I mean, fuck, why would you tax the shit out of somebody who inherits that?
But the problem right now, this is with the Build Back Better plan that the Democrats are trying to push through. They want to get rid of the step up in basis. They also want to tax unrealized capital gains.
Unrealized capital gain?
Yes. So
that's stock market shit.
No, well, no, it's not. It's real estate stuff too. Because your house that we just had as an example,
yeah,
the value that you've gained. So if you purchased it at $100,000, when you died, it's now worth $500,000. That house has never been sold. Your kids inherit the house, and they still own the house. The value of that house has gone up, right?
Yeah.
That's unrealized gains. That's what an unrealized gain is. It's way simpler than what people make it to be.
So the Dems want the kids to pay the taxes on the $400,000
plus any gains they have. Yes, and they want to be to force you to pay those gains. So if you have $400,000 worth of gains, they want your kids when they inherit it to pay the $400,000, whether or not they sell the asset or not.
What a fucking dickhead.
So this is where it runs into the problem. This is where this is eye-opening, okay? A lot of people think, oh, hell, I'm not a millionaire. You know, I don't make over $450,000 a year. It doesn't apply to me. Do you know how many people may have grandparents or parents that bought a house 30 years ago, 40 years ago, have paid that house off? They paid $100,000 or $50,000 or less, and now that house is a $500,000 asset. Or a $1 million asset. There's a lot of people that don't even know that they're in that situation, right? And when their parents died, they inherit this asset. The Democrats want to be able to tax that. If you start taxing unrealized capital gains, now it's going, basically think of it as income. Because if you sell that house and realize those gains, theoretically, now your income goes from zero to whatever the gains were. So you are in that $1 million tax bracket or that $450,000 tax bracket now.
That's kind of what my question was. Would I have to fucking pay taxes on the difference from what it was? They had the home built. Would I have to pay from what it was? I don't know what it cost them.
No. Not right now, you don't.
It's dead. This is just
but you wouldn't. Not right now.
The road, thinking ahead type of deal.
No, you wouldn't.
That I don't want to, fuck that. I already lost my dad. But,
No, these are good questions. But and it's good you're asking these questions because people need to have an understanding of this. And they need to have an understanding of what's being proposed. When they start talking about unrealized capital gains, first thing you thought, oh, well, that's stock market stuff, right? No, it's not. A capital gain, all a capital gain is it's a growth of your investment. All right?
It's me making money.
Exactly.
Is that an easy way to fucking say it?
Yes, it's unearned income because it's not like you going to your job and making money. It's different. That's earned income, right? A capital gain is appreciation of a. Yes.
Could we say it that way? Winning the lottery.
That would be it's a little bit different because you have to have an initial investment. A capital gain is value of an investment going up.
All right, I'm all right with you.
Right. So if you own a stock at $100 and it goes to $110, you have a capital gain. If you buy a house at $100,000, it goes to $500,000. That's a capital gain.
Gotcha.
Got me. So, an unrealized capital gain is exactly what it sounds like. It means it's unreal, which means it's only on paper. You don't have that cash in your hand.
Right.
Therefore, when you sell the asset, now what is it called? It's called a realized capital gain. Because now you have the cash. Now you just made the $400,000 in growth on that house. You sold it, and now you have that gain in your hand, the money in your hand. It's real. It can't go anywhere.
And is that liquidity or is that
So
equity?
liquid means that would be equity. Liquid means you can get money out fast. So something that's liquid would be something like your checking account. That's liquid. You can get cash out real quick.
Okay, and equity would be...
Equity is how much you own of something. So if you purchase the house today and you put 10% down, your equity in that house is 10%. That's how much of your money and the value that you own. The bank owns the rest.
Oh, all right.
Yep.
I'm with you.
So
I can't remember all that.
No,
Man,
that's
it's been
okay.
a long time since I was fucking... I
But
don't even know if they taught us this shit in high school.
But and that's the problem. That's a huge problem. And I have said this multiple times. They need to teach this stuff. The problem is if they taught this stuff, we would have a lot less people on board with what the Democrats are trying to do.
No, they didn't. They did not teach us this shit. They taught us government. Government and economics, but
Yep.
the economics was not. They didn't. If they got into this fucking shit, I must have skipped or was.
They didn't. They didn't.
Man.
They didn't get into this when I graduated in economics and they barely touched on it then. And so a lot of this is learned from just working in the industry. But going back to the unrealized capital gain, here's where there's another problem with this. Now they want to start taxing unrealized capital gains. If you bought a house at $100,000 and it's worth $500,000, but you still own the house, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you paid it off. You don't owe the bank any money, so you are worth $500,000 in that house. But you don't have any cash in your hand. You just got the house, right?
Correct.
What they're proposing in the Build Back Better plan is taxing those gains even if you don't sell that house. When you die.
That's bullshit.
Well,
Get
yeah.
the fuck out of here,
Because
man.
the value of the house can go up and down.
He can go have a fucking stroke and shit in his fucking diaper, man. Even if I were not to sell that home and give the home to my grandchildren or something,
your grandkids would have to pay the taxes.
Man.
So what is that going to force you to do?
Fucking royally fucked up.
Yes. So, well, for a couple of reasons. For the first one, we all know the value of a house fluctuates, just like a stock in the stock market, right? It goes up and down. The stocks go up every day, up and down every day.
Correct.
So if you tax me today, and let's say I bought a stock at $100 and it goes up to $110, and you tax my unrealized gains at $110, but tomorrow it's at $105. What, are you going to give me a tax return on that?
Right.
It's not real. The other thing is that my money is in the investment. Your money is tied up in the house. If you die and your kids inherit the house, they are not. If they don't sell it, they don't have the cash. They just have the house. The house is where the value is. Right?
Right.
If the government said, hey, you have a $400,000 tax liability, it'd be less. Let's say, you owe $50,000 in taxes now on the gains and the value of that house. Well, just because they inherited the house doesn't mean they have cash to go pay taxes to the government on the value of the house.
I was going to say, how in the fuck do I pay that?
Exactly. You have to sell the house.
Sell the house.
Mm-hmm.
If they told me I owe the fucking cocksucking government $50,000, I don't have fucking $50,000.
Exactly. So you would have to go and sell your house to get the money.
Would they tell me, well, once you sell the house, then you can pay us $50,000? Would they accept that?
Well, that's up to you. Yeah, they'll accept either way. But now we're gonna
accept a size 11 up their ass.
Yeah. So right as it currently stands, let's say I invest in the stock market. I buy a share at $100 and I sell it at $110. I pay taxes on the $10 difference, right? The money I made. That's how it normally is. And that's fine because it's real. I made that money. I'm not saying I like it, but that's just how it works. I made $10. I give them $1 or $2 of that $10, right? In taxes.
Mhm.
But it's real. I had the cash.
Correct.
When you start taxing the unrealized gains, that's when you run into problems because what if I put all my $100 to my name in that investment? It does good. I'm holding it. And now you're taxing me. Now I have to sell the investment to get the cash to pay the government in taxes. Now, I'm talking about a $100 share here. We were talking about Jeff Bezos yesterday, right?
Yeah.
Someone like Jeff Bezos.
The definition of can you just say unrealized gains? One more. Just say that.
It's an
one more.
unrealized gain. And that just means it's not real. It's literally what it sounds like. Because tomorrow it can be different.
So the unrealized gains, like back to the home that was bought for $100,000, now it's up to $500,000.
Yeah.
The $400,000 is the unrealized
Gain.
capital gain.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes. If you still own the house.
All right, with you. All right.
Yep.
Now, what about Bezos? We were talking about him.
So,
yes.
We were talking about Jeff Bezos and how he has all that money in the stock, in Amazon stock. Elon Musk, same thing. Richest man in the world, right?
Yeah.
Their net worth is not because they have $100 billion in cash. It's because they have $100 billion in stock that gained value. The stock prices went up, and now their net worth is where it's at. Okay.
And their money in stock is liquid.
It's liquid. They can sell it, but they would pay taxes on it if they sell it.
Right.
Because you only pay taxes if you sell and realize the gains.
When you sell a fucking share of stock, you're taxed?
Yes, if you have gains, yes.
God damn.
Well, that's like income at that point. It's like making money. You paid income taxes.
Well, what are these people that buy and sell all day long?
They can pay a lot in taxes. Yeah, absolutely. If they're making money.
All right.
Because you pay taxes on the gains that you make real. So if you buy and you sell and you made money, the money that you made is now realized, and that's what you pay taxes on.
Man.
But if you buy and you hold, as it is right now, you don't pay taxes on it.
Yeah, it's just once you sell, then you fucking pay.
Exactly. The problem is that the government doesn't take not the government because they don't tax unrealized capital gains, but when they're proposing these policies and this legislation to tax unrealized gains, they're not factoring in risk. Because if Jeff Bezos, if Amazon's at $3,000 a share one day, and they tax them, and then it drops to $2,500 a share the next day, now he overpaid in taxes.
Yeah. I know. I see where you're coming from.
And these guys aren't carrying around $10 billion in cash, as we talked about yesterday, to pay the taxes on the stock that they own, that they have.
Right. It's tied up in stock.
Exactly.
Their business.
You could say what you want about the company, the Bezoses and the Elon Musk of the world, but they've created a service or a business that has offered so much value that people wanted to invest in it and drive that stock price up. And they so happen to be the majority owner or the largest shareholder in the company that they benefited from everyone wanting to buy into Tesla because of the electric vehicle market, or buy into Amazon because of the everything that they do. Because I can go buy a share of Amazon, you can buy a share of Amazon, you can make money with it, right? You can't fault someone for creating a business and creating value. This is going back to the beginning of this podcast with the communism and capitalism definition. The problem,
I was going to say capitalism.
Exactly.
That's what we're fucking here for. You're free to make money.
Exactly. The problem with these socialists and communist people and tax the rich, everyone wants to penalize someone for being successful, and that's not right. There are people that inherit money. I'm not denying that. I grew up with a lot of them. But the majority of millionaires and billionaires are self-made. Let's look at Trump. Everyone want to say, oh, well, his dad gave him $1 million loan. Well, he turned it into fucking $6 billion. That's like me taking $1,000 and turning it into $6 million. That's fucking ridiculous.
But didn't he go bankrupt?
Who cares? A lot of them do. Do you know how many NFL players go bankrupt?
All right, he went bankrupt, and that lasts for what, 7 years?
Well, yeah, on his credit, but you can still go run a business and make money and pay it off.
You can still earn money when you're.
Yeah, regular people go bankrupt too.
Well, I know that.
Yeah, you still got to work and feed your kids.
You can't. I thought you were fucked when you file for bankruptcy. Well, you can't fucking file for credit.
Well, the difference between Trump doing it is his business filed for bankruptcy, not him. It's different. A business is its own entity when it's structured properly. Okay, but then you have regular people they personally file bankruptcy. And now it falls on you.
That's different.
Exactly. If you own a corporation, you're running a successful business, and all of a sudden you go bankrupt, then you potentially, that may not fall on you as the individual, that your business went bankrupt. So there's ways around it, and the more money you have, and the bigger your business is, right? There's even more complicated things in that. But people want to hammer Trump for being going bankrupt. Hell, I'd say it's kind of impressive that he built a business, went bankrupt, and then was able to start over and be successful again.
And you said he was worth at one point $6 billion,
before he was president, I believe he's like $6 billion, and then now he's like $2 billion. He's the only person to lose money in office.
So you're saying B like boy?
Yes.
Billion. Correct?
Yes.
You're saying he was worth $6 billion.
Yes.
Not million, billion.
Billion.
B like boy.
Yes, B.
Damn.
Yeah, he was worth a lot of money. Trump was a very successful businessman. So, that's where, like, they say, oh, well, his dad gave him that $1 million loan. His dad helped him out. He turned him, if that were true, that means he turned $1 million into $6 billion. And like I said, that would be like me getting $1,000 loan from my dad and turning it into $6 million.
Right.
That's fucking impressive.
Yeah, he did well, I guess.
Yes. So a lot of people go bankruptcies. Businesses go bankrupt. Last year during COVID, they went bankrupt for whatever reason. That happens. Now that falls back on decisions made by the business. So it could have been Trump's fault, mismanagement. You can hit him on that, but you can't just let that be an end all be all and say, oh well, yeah, he's not he just went bankrupt. Like he's not a good business person. Well, no, he went bankrupt and built it all back up.
Personal vendetta or not knowing what the fucking guy. I just was curious since you went bankrupt. I thought you were fucked after you went bankrupt for 7 years, and then you got to fucking kind of start all over.
It's different for maybe someone like you and I, and going bankrupt personally, like you and your wife or something like that, than your business.
Wise, yeah.
Yeah, and it's all about how your business is structured. And I got to be careful going into this conversation.
No, man.
but it's because if you're just like a sole proprietor and you're out, let's say mowing yards, right, and your business is you, and you have a name for the business, but it's still you, right? And you go bankrupt, well, you're still fucked. But that's where, but it's all about structure. But I'm glad you were able to call back in and we were able to have this conversation because we kind of got into it yesterday with the capital gains.
Yeah. But I appreciate you fucking taking the time or talking to me and.
Well, no, this is everything I was going to talk about on the podcast today. So that's literally,
cool.
Yeah, like I had.
Now you got an example to use.
Yeah, and like earlier I talked about communism and capitalism, and then got into how the Trump tax cuts benefited people, and gave an example, and then we got into this conversation, and this is an episode I would like not just conservative my conservative base to listen to, but also people on the left and independents as well. Because
I don't care. You fucking put it on for the world to listen to. I don't ever have a problem putting shit on.
And
I know it says that on the beginning. People, your voice may be heard or whatever.
Well,
that's what you're saying. I don't.
No, I mean it doesn't matter. But my problem with again, a lot of the argument on the left about the policies is they approach it in support of the government. And I've this is like the fourth or fifth time I've said this, but they're saying, these tax policies cost this much money. It's costing the government money. It's not costing the people money.
The government are the fucking people.
It is, but it's putting them. The money is not just. You're not just losing the money. No, the people are just retaining the money directly, personally. They're not paying as much in taxes.
I'm just saying what we were taught. I remember that. The government are the people. Big government is not good.
It's not. It's not. The people control the government. But the government is an entity that has they're an authority, right? And this is where I was saying with the communism deal is the difference between communism and capitalism is the means of production. What owns the means of production? Basically, who owns the businesses? Who owns the properties, the houses, right?
In communism, nobody owns shit.
Well, no. See, the definition.
What we give you.
Well, no. See, the definition is that the people own everything. The public.
Of communism?
In communism, the people own everything. So hear me out, right? Just like you just said, the people own everything in communism. The people own the means of production. Okay? And it's public ownership. A public good right now, I was talking about Zach, is like going to the park right now. Right? It's run by the state or local government or the federal government or, whatever. That is an example of a public ownership. Private ownership is you owning your house. You yourself. The problem with socialism and communists is they are saying, the community owns the means of production. How much we're going to make in certain businesses and supply and how who runs certain things and everyone has a say in the decisions and all that stuff. But when the people own the public has the ownership, who oversees it for them? The government. That's why in communist countries like the Soviet Union and North Korea right now, the government is a total authoritarian rule. Because, like you said, the government is the people. And so if the people own the means of production as a whole, that means the government owns the fucking means of production.
Why are they fucking starving their people, though?
Because
the people are fucking dying while the 1/4, that's being very generous.
Because of mismanagement. Because the private sector does everything better than the government.
There is no private sector in communism.
I know. And that's why you just answered your own question on why they're starving. Because when
the government's fucking,
well, it's not that the government's fucking them just because of the political structure, but think about this. And if I own a farm, I'm going to farm a crop.
For the government.
No. Right now in the United States, I'm saying. Capitalist.
Oh.
If I own a farm, I'm going to choose what crop I farm. And it's going to be based off of different factors. If it's a rotation crop, I'm going to plant corn one year, maybe, and then something else the next year's, right? But I'm going to pick crops that I can profit from, that have a demand, that society has a demand, that they're going to come to the market and buy my crop that I'm growing out of the ground. Okay? Yeah. And I, as the person that owned the farm, is the one that's benefiting from it. Mm-hmm. I make the money from my hard work. I can use that money to reinvest it and make my decisions. I can go buy some more land to have a bigger farm. I can do certain things and grow my business, whatever, right? I choose what I do with the money I make.
Right.
In a communist country, the government is going to say, we're growing rice this year. Okay? You don't own the farm. You just work on the farm.
Yeah, you give us your fucking
and when the rice is grown, they come and collect it. So if you go, I brought this up, Yeonmi Park on YouTube. She's a North Korean defector. There's also another really good documentary that talks about this. They're interviewing a rice farmer in North Korea, and they call it patriotic rice. He gets a small portion when it's done for his family, a small ration, and then the rest goes as patriotic rice. They don't pay him for it. They just give him his portion for free for his work that he did. He got paid a little bit, while he worked to make the rice up until then. But the rest of it goes to the government, and they distribute it how they see fit. The other thing is that for a government...
Yeah, this real quick, because I'll fucking forget.
Yep.
Well, when you say they pay him a little bit, do they pay him a little bit in currency, or do they just pay him totally in cash?
Well, I don't know how... I mean, they would pay him like you get paid maybe a wage. People get paid in communist countries, right? It's not like here. It's the incentive structure's gone. There's no incentive structure. There's no motivation.
Right.
Okay. And where I was also going with, damn it, because I was gonna say something after you asked a question. I can't remember what it was, but it'll come. No, you're right. It'll come back to me. But I see it. I'm looking at it. You're saying 8 minutes? I see 144, so I see 16 minutes. Huh. But with the communist and capitalist structures, okay, it could be the government is going to control. Oh, I know what I was gonna say. So in a place like North Korea, and they did this in Soviet Union too. Do you know how you control the population from wanting to revolt and change the way you do things?
I used to.
You starve them.
Yeah, but that's one way.
You can't. They're not going to think when they're hungry. The only thing they think about is eating and finding food. They don't think about revolting against the government.
They're at your mercy.
Exactly. If you control the food, you have power. That's why in Ethiopia and these African countries, this is why the whole world hunger bullshit. It's all a scam.
Oh, everything's a fucking scam.
Because you're not going to solve world hunger. The only way you're going to solve world hunger is to go into the places like North Korea and kill Kim Jong-un and completely take over the country and overhaul it. And turn it into a society that's going to allow people to access the food. Same thing in Africa. You're going to have to go into these African countries and get rid of all these warlords, completely take it over. Because if you let them stay in power and you give them the food, they're just going to take the food and keep it away from the people because then they control the people.
All right. I got a show for you tomorrow or whenever you want to.
Yeah.
Why the fuck do we have to do that?
Well, what do you mean? We don't have to do anything.
It's our job to go and make everything right for other countries.
Well,
we have done this for fucking decades and decades and decades and decades.
You're right, and it's not right.
I'll give you, there's a few examples. We helped Afghanistan fight the fucking Soviets.
Mm-hmm.
We gave them all kinds of shit. Who are we fighting?
You know what that is? We were fighting the communists at that point.
We're fighting the Afghans. Yeah, I know they were fighting the communists for.
That's what a lot of it was. It's a war on communism.
It's all fucked up. We never get anything back.
No.
Anything in return for helping the other people.
Nope.
But yet we're still fucking sending billions of dollars to other countries while we have people starving here in the United States.
Exactly.
We can't get our shit correct here in the United States, yet we still fucking send billions of dollars in aid that gets stolen by the fucking country we're sending it to, the higher ups, and the money or whatever we're sending never gets to the people.
No, you're right. We agree.
Why do we do that?
It's beyond me. It's something that I complain about. Obviously, it's not something that we control. There's a million different reasons and theories on why. A lot of it's money. So, I think he got cut off. Spicoli got. Oh, here he is.
I don't know that.
You there? That's all right. But there's a lot of theories as to why that we do that. But we act as the world's police.
To do that.
Yep. We act as the world's police. Talked about this earlier. Talked about it yesterday, and I don't believe that. And I said I will stick to this. There's one thing Joe Biden has said that I agree with him 100% on. It's the best thing he has said since he has been president, and that was during his whole screwed up Afghanistan scenario. He got up on a press conference and he made the comment. He said, "Why should Americans have to die helping people fight for a country that they don't want to fight for?"
Yeah.
And he was 100% right. Why do we have to die for something that their own people aren't willing to die for? He's right. Now, he screwed up the whole thing.
He knows that.
Yeah.
That motherfucker has known that for so fucking long. I know you're short on time, but he knows all that fucking shit. Why in the fuck did he pull out of fucking Afghanistan the wrong way? The army is the military is the last fucking people to go.
Well, that's you're getting into a.
He knew how to fucking do it, but he fucked that up.
Yeah. Well, now you're getting into his.
I'm just venting.
Yeah. No, you're good. I mean, you're just getting into his own personal decision making at this point. I was just speaking on one statement that he made that I agreed with. I don't agree with anything else he did.
Fucking chief and yeah.
So and Eric is right, and we're gonna end on that comment. Eric, under Trump, we had no new wars or conflicts. In fact, a soldier didn't die for like 18 months in Afghanistan before that. So we're going to end it there. Great conversation again. I appreciate you calling in, Spicoli, and finishing that conversation. Good conversation. Eric, I really appreciate you sharing the podcast.
Mike, thank you for having me up and answering my questions and going through and listening to all my shit. Thank you very much.
No, absolutely. Tune in. Call in whenever. And Eric, yes, we will be on tomorrow again. Probably 11 again. Look, if it's not 11, it'll be around 2 or 3 in the afternoon. I'm on Central Time, so I don't know what time zone you guys are on.
We're same time. All right.
All
right. Cool.
This is the first week we've done 11 o'clock, but I think I like this time. So, but yep, we will end it there. And thanks guys for listening. Go check us out on Rumble too.